All right.
We're here.
Hey, world. I'm Alvin.
Hey, I'm Charles.
Welcome to Tit for Tat. A little of this and a little of that.
Exactly.
Today, exactly. Today we are going to be talking about colorism in the Black, straight, LMNOP communities. So, Charles.
Why did you do me like that?
No, I'm kidding. So, come in, please like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah.
Come into the chat. Let us know what you think. And let's get at it. But first, Charles, before we get into that,
Yes,
I was thinking, I came across a video, and it's kind of went viral about this guy and his girlfriend that was living in the storage unit.
Oh my.
Okay, so before we do that, I want to play a little clip of this, and then anybody out there, y'all come in and tell us what you think and what your thoughts is on this.
I live in a storage unit because it's cheap in comparison to an apartment. Living here is actually really comfortable. I get a lot of things that I need and want to get done here. I can exercise. I can use the bathroom. I can play music anywhere in the unit. It's climate controlled in here, so it's nice and warm. This unit is 24 hours, so I can come here anytime I want, stay here as long as I need to. We can take naps if we need to and go to sleep. So this is our living space. Very, very grateful to have this space. The next goal is to get an RV. The next goal after that, tiny home. And if we want to eat, I just cook right out front. Or we'll just prepare something cold inside of the unit. Sandwiches, a lot of times we make salad. If we want to get power, we use our power bank. They also have power here so we can charge our power bank. Me and my baby will live here as long as we need to until we get the shelter that we want. Because we're living here, now we can save up more money to get what we really want. We're in it for the long haul. Thank you for the support. Thanks for watching.
Okay.
That is not the American dream.
So, okay, so that is going to be in our "I'll Know You Didn't" segment. Okay, so you tell me what you think about that. I'm kind of confused though, because now I do know now that they're not living there. You know that he went viral, and the I guess the storage unit people saw it. But what I'm like, aren't there cameras there anyway? Anyway, there should be cameras there. How do you get away with living in a storage unit? If the person's there doing their job, they should be, have video surveillance where they can see that you're actually living in a storage unit.
Yeah.
To me, if the people who work there are not actually surveying the video, then how is our stuff protected? Somebody could come in there and just steal our stuff or do anything and nobody's watching. So how did they go so long living in that storage unit without being caught?
And maybe that is the reason at the points where he could have been on camera is when he was exercising or when he was listening to his music or whatever. That's not a problem. I mean, people probably thought, well, he does have a space here and he's probably just playing around, whatever. The thing is, if the person that works there noticed that they never leave, like we saw you come in and then we didn't see you leave until like the morning or whatever. So did you stay here overnight? That would have been my thing. I'm not worried about, because he couldn't have stole anything, I don't think, because everything is locked or whatever. The thing is, why is it taking you so long from the time you come to the time you leave? What are you doing?
Well, he's cooking. Okay, so he in the video he says that they cook, they go outside and cook. So there's cameras everywhere. So they're gonna see, why do you need to cook at a storage unit?
Yeah. That's
So
weird.
So there's no way that unless the people who work there are in on it too and let them stay there, you know, and then once it went viral, then maybe they kicked them out because now the top corporate people or whoever else done got wind of this.
Right.
But
it was smart though. I mean,
you think that's smart going to
if that's what you need to, I believe people are going to do what they need to do. However, still try to stay within the law. And of course, that's probably not the law. But I mean, people do different, I mean, crazy stuff when they're back against the wall. And I guess he was like, you know what, we at this point we can't afford. Where do they live? Did he say what state he lives in?
No, I didn't see where they lived.
That sounds like some California, New York kind of stuff, because baby, they you know, their rent is so high and it's very expensive or whatever. But when when their back is against the wall, they would do whatever it takes. And it wasn't just for him; it was for his wife. Now, if he had kids, then you know my heart would have, you know, probably went out. But still, sir, try to go the right way. I mean, you know, you could have got housing assistance, you know, rent assistance or whatever. Their plans are.
They're living in a tent now, or they went, you know, once they got put out. I'm not for sure. I'll go back and do some research on that. But I think that they are living in a tent. But you know, he got some good amenities. He don't have to pay electric because it comes with electric. So in the wintertime, you're going to get you some heat. In the summertime, you're going to get you some air conditioning. You know, so because it's climate control. Exactly. You know, you got your electricity, so he got lights. You know, so I guess they had all the little conveniences. I'm sure it's a little.
For only how much? $49 a month or whatever.
When I looked at it, it looked like they had a whole full living room.
Yeah,
so it might have been a big storage unit, so that wouldn't have been the $49 one. That might have been the $100 or $200 one or something. You know, when you get the bigger ones,
right?
And then, and some of them have
less than rent, less than what you would pay for a rent if you had an apartment.
Yeah, that.
I mean, hey, yeah, but yeah, that's crazy. It was crazy, but I mean, I can see, you know, he he worked the system. He definitely worked the system.
Well, the thing of it is, if he was getting away with it, and then and just say the people there who work there allowed him to do it because they're friends, or he gave them some kickback, a little extra money or something like that. The issue is, why did you go live and go do a video and put it out there? Did you think that? I mean, did you honestly think that they wouldn't see it or nobody would see that? Or because once it gets out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, people are gonna share it. It's gonna go viral.
And then the storage unit has to put you out there because you're violating their policy. It was just a wild story to me altogether, and I just wanted to see what your opinion was on it, or if you saw it. Had you seen it?
No.
You hadn't seen it? You hadn't heard about it or anything? Because it was like all over the place.
No, I've probably seen stuff like that has happened or whatever. I didn't see that particular one. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, I was just like, oh no, you didn't. You know what I mean? Oh no, you didn't move into a storage unit. But I guess you got to do what you got to do. Yeah. Or what, you know, or sometimes it's people do what they could get away with.
Yes.
You know, I don't know. Did he not have any relatives or somebody he could stay with, or how did that idea just pop into his head? I wonder what made him,
resort to
think about that. Yeah.
I guess, I mean, you know, as men, you know, we don't want to have to be dependent on others or whatever. Then evidently he has a girlfriend, wife, or whatever that all she does is sleep. Looks like.
Who said that?
I'm just saying,
that from?
Because every time he showed on the video, she was knocked out on that couch. Baby, is she gonna cook? Does she do anything? She just laying there. And like he was disturbing her because she's looking up like.
Well, he said we, so she probably helps too. So you know, maybe she was tired at that time. Or,
maybe so. Like, nigga, I mean, what you doing? Shooting us? You should be asleep. And it wasn't no wrong for him to sleep on the couch too. So I wonder where he probably sleeps on the floor.
Why would you say that? They probably might have a blow up mattress or something in there. You know, like a
Maybe.
blow up bed. What's them? The little bubble.
I mean,
bed?
everything is a maybe because we don't know.
It
But I'm
looked-
just
it
saying,
looked pretty
she was on.
spacious. They had it laid out.
I'm just saying, if we're a couple, I want to be laid up with you, and if she's the only one that could fit on that couch at the time, so hopefully they have somewhere else to sleep, or maybe he sleeps on the floor and gives her the couch as a gentleman would.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of weird. However, like you say, if you have to do it, you do it. But like I was saying, we don't want to be dependent, and so he probably thought, you know what? At this time, I can't afford an apartment or a condominium or whatever, house or whatever, but we can buy storage units and we can move all our stuff in there, and hopefully no one finds out unless we put ourselves on TikTok or whatever he did. So that's where he messed up.
Yeah, I think, did he record it on TikTok? Yeah, it was TikTok. TikTok, wasn't it?
I think it
YouTube?
was. I think it was a TikTok. It gave me the feel of a TikTok video.
TikTok.
And usually at the end, it'll tell you TikTok or whatever.
Yeah, TikTok popped up on the thing.
Okay,
well, yes, probably it was a TikTok. Yeah, I just thought that was a oh no, you didn't moment for us. For me anyway, I was like,
Right.
oh no, you didn't move into a storage unit, but oh yes, he did.
And see, like, if you put
And
like
his girlfriend went with him.
she went with him.
I was talking to my sister on the phone, not through the phone, but she was texting me, and we were talking about this.
Mhm.
And then she said, "What kind of gut bucket girlfriend,
Not gut bucket.
who would move in with his ass into a storage unit?"
Now,
My younger
sister,
Yeah, my
what
younger
does gut
sister.
bucket mean? Do you know? Is that an Ohio term?
It's just an old term that people used to say a long time ago. I guess people don't say that no more. But gut bucket is kind of like you might equate it to no, what'd you say, Layton?
Oh, she's a gut bucket.
What's your definition of gut bucket, Layton?
I just told you,
Sexy red. Why would you call her
Use
a gut
it in a
bucket?
sentence.
Why would you call her a gut bucket? Because it's basically like
we use what in the sentence? Sexy red.
Okay. What's the definition of it?
When I was looking into
let's
past,
well, let me be accurate. I can give you the definition of what when I was younger and people would call somebody a gut bucket. It's like you ain't no good, and you're treacherous, like
Okay.
you do stuff to people to you can do stuff to people.
So it has nothing to do with your gut or that
It has
you're a
nothing to do
bucket.
with, no. it has nothing to do with your gut. Let's see. Let's look it up and see what the definition is. It popped right up here.
Right, you should know it. I'm sure you use
Well,
it.
I mean, but they have a standard.
See? Alvin cooked for me again, y'all.
How you use the word? You need to know the word blood.
Okay.
Well, I mean, there's the word, and then there's how people use terms. There's lots of terms and words, and then we don't exactly use them.
Oh, this
The
is
way that
making
we
me feel
should.
better. The soup or whatever
The
it is.
soup?
Yes.
You like it?
Yes, it's
That's
making
okay.
me feel better. So
What was wrong with you?
my eyes were like watering. I've been crying all day, all night.
Why have you been crying all day and night?
Probably because of you.
Why do you already told me that, and then you was having your little nasty tirade.
What? There's nothing nasty about me unless you call me Mr. Nose.
Mr. What?
Mr. Nose.
What is Mr. Knowles?
Like,
Knowles?
yeah.
Like Beyonce's cousin, like you say you are, and
I
she
am.
has no idea who you are.
Oh my God, let's move on because baby, if we I'm not
my
gonna
God.
take this abuse from you. See how he verbally abuses me daily.
Okay. So I got the definition of colorism
What
up
is
here.
the definition?
Well, it says colorism. It says prejudice or discrimination, especially when within a racial or an ethnic group, favoring people with lighter skin over those with darker skin. And so me and you were talking about this. I've also was talking about it with my mother and some other my other friends. And you were telling me that you feel like you have never experienced colorism in any aspect of your life. You said you may have, but you don't recall that experience any type of colorism?
The words that I used was, I have not knowingly experienced colorism. I probably have and just didn't know. So I mean, I can't speak to anything I don't know, other than what I've seen or what I've heard or whatever. Because I mean, I've seen it in movies, I've seen it in society, I've seen it in TV shows or whatever. May have even discussed it with friends on a light issue. Because I don't think it's never been something like a big topic with me and my friends or whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, unknowingly, I may have, but knowingly, no, and I know no one's just gonna come out and just say, "Hey, I'm a colorist" or whatever. But I never even felt that. How you can like feel like something's not right here or something's wrong here. I've never felt that. So yeah. So, but I'm here and I'm open for the discussion. And I want to, give my side of the stories or give my opinions or observations or whatever. But yeah, so I don't have a personal testimony to it, but I do know that it exists. Like I said, when I went to college, I think that's when the first time it opened up, because me and my friends, we never talked about the different shades of our color or felt like one was better than the other. My brother is light skinned. And if anybody, he's gonna hate me for telling this, but I wouldn't know unless my mom told me. So one day, I guess he and my mom were together or whatever, and I don't know if he saw a picture of me or whatever, but he asked my mom, he's like, "Am I gonna be dark like Charles or something like that?" But he was a little boy, so he didn't know or whatever. But he wasn't doing it out of hate. He was just like,
"How old were you?"
Oh, I don't even remember the ages. I don't even remember when it happened. My mom just told me the story. Yeah. So we were young. But yeah. But I don't know why he couldn't just say, "Am I going to be doing like you? Or am I going to be doing like Daddy?" Because we're all brown skin except him. He's the lightest of us all. He's darker now, but he's still light.
So he probably thought he was a little different because everybody else in the family was darker skinned,
so.
And he was lighter skinned, and he's wondering, well, why am I not that complexion?
Maybe so, yeah.
Even though your parents didn't do anything to instill any type of colorism or anything like that in it, because colorism, it stems from it has its roots in slavery. How a lot of all that began, and then we kind of perpetrated it as the years went on. Lighter is considered better, or perceived by some, not all, perceived as better or more. You get more privilege if you're lighter skinned, and there's some families that actually, where that does go on, has gone on, and it's still going on. Where they had the paper bag test. So if your skin tone was like the color of a paper bag or lighter, you tended to be accepted more in I'll use in Black society. Not saying that they didn't accept the darker skin, but you tended to have more privilege in the Black community if you were lighter, or if you what they consider to have curly, straight, good hair. And
see, when I hear stuff like that, I think of immediately I think of self-hatred. I think of self-hatred because why would you even go to the lengths of putting someone up against a paper bag? There's something in you that feels like you don't belong, or you're better, or you're not acceptable, whatever. And to me, and when we were discussing it, to me, that's something that the white man has instilled in us, and we keep it going. We keep it perpetrating because they felt like, okay, you are a house nigga, you are a field nigga, and somewhere we picked that up. We equated that to being like, okay, so if you're a house nigga, then you're better. And if you're the field nigga, then you're
but they still thought of you as a nigger, no less.
right.
But some privileges did come with being lighter skinned. You know, once your slave owner had kids by you now they would keep, the woman, if she had the black woman, if she had a child by the slave master, they would keep those kids, and they could be raised up.
Mm-hmm.
The difference sometimes with the mistress, the white mistress of the house, if she was sleeping with one of the slaves or forced the slave to sleep with her, if it was a male,
Mm-hmm.
and then she had a baby, well, a lot of times that child was killed.
Mm-hmm.
The slave man, the
Right.
slave was killed, the enslaved man was killed.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes she was killed, the white woman was killed too, because that would be an embarrassment and a
Right.
mark on their family,
Right.
in white polite society.
Mm-hmm.
But they did keep the child that was by the black woman, when she was raped,
Mm-hmm.
by that
the
slave
white man,
master. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, and then we tended to perpetrate that. So you could see a lot of that back then too, like sometimes the slaves that did get to work in the house or work in the locksmith, whatever shop they had, or
Mm-hmm.
they were treated a little better than the people in the fields or working elsewhere.
And it's sad that they do it, but then we start to do it to each other, and
We're
so
perpetrating
crazy.
it now. I notice it sometimes. I've noticed it in my family. I've noticed it in jobs. Now I think there's a difference between colorism in people of color's community than racism. I think racism is different when it's like racism directed towards black people or other ethnic groups. When it's perpetrated by by white folks, and sometimes other races, other ethnic groups perpetrate it too.
Yeah.
But I think it's different. So because I told you the other day when we was driving, I used to work at a place in Cincinnati where the general manager used to code the applications S and P, and and he was white, and it stood for salt and pepper. So if he put an S on there, that means that's a white candidate. If he put a P on there, that means it's a black candidate. And he knew not to hire, people, or not hire too many people that had the P on there. Now, I don't consider that colorism. I consider that racism.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we were just say it was a black general manager and he was coding that,
Mm-hmm.
and he was putting that on there, and then he was doing that so he wouldn't hire black people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Or not hire too many,
Mm-hmm.
because there are black people who believe that white is right, or it's the favored race. I mean, not race, because there's no such thing as, except the human race, there's no such thing as black or white race or Mexican race or anything like that. It's the human race, and then there's ethnicities within inside the race.
Mm-hmm.
But there are black people who would have done that same thing and coded that, if they were working under that general manager and they felt like I needed to keep my job,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can move up if I do what this man says, and do the same thing. And then they could discriminate. It would become discrimination, where they're doing that against, just say, their own kind, where they wouldn't hire other black people,
Right.
or they would keep it to a minimum, and they might hire 1 or 2 black people, but they might hire 8 or 9 white people,
Right.
because they're going off of that code that you're putting on that application.
Mm-hmm.
But that wouldn't make it racism on that black person's part. It would be colorism. You know what I'm saying? Because they're taking their internalized, their own internalized racism or what has happened with them, you know, they could be taking that and using it against us.
Right.
You know, and so I wouldn't consider that racism. I would consider that that's a form of colorism, and it's not preference. You know, it's not a preference to me. That's considered a prejudice to me, and that would be considered color. That's a form of colorism to me. Same thing with dating and stuff. You know, there's people who within our own race who only date, who will only date light-skinned people or black people. You know, my father was a case in point. He would only date someone that he considered what they called high yellow, you know, which would have been my mother, you know, and then every woman after him and my mother got a divorce, every woman after that, they was light skinned or they were white. He would not date me. He would not date this complexion right here, you know, even though he was, you know, he was dark skinned, but he would not date that, you know, and it was said, you know, it was said
why he was doing that.
It wasn't a preference to him. That was just, that's what he wanted. And I don't know if he had anything against himself. It sounds like he did, or, you know, not wanting to date all shades, you know what I mean, or whatever. But I find that also in the
Calvin.
I find that also in the I find that also in the you know, I find that also in the dating community in the black community too. There's some guys who only go for light-skinned guys, and then they don't consider the dark-skinned guys. But then there are also guys who are, you know, who are light-skinned and they only, you know, date dark-skinned. And I'm kind of wondering what that's about too. You know, like when there's a variety of people, it's almost like you're limiting yourself, just saying I only date a light-skinned person, or I only date a dark-skinned person, or I only date somebody that's brown. You can't be darker than this in order for me to date you, or you got to be lighter, or you got to have what they call good hair, or, you know, or whatever, you know. And me and you were talking about it too, and you said that you consider that a preference and not colorism. And so what did I just do here?
You touched your laptop.
Yeah, I did.
I mean your keyboard.
So
so when who's this? So hey Calvin, I like your answers. Thank you for joining us. No, so my point, or where I was coming from, is that, you know, until you know the actual root of why a person has these preferences or whatever, then I don't know if it's colorism or not, you know, because until I find out that you are purposely discriminating against me, or you're causing me harm, or you're actually saying that this is better and this is not, or, you know, this is less and this is more, or whatever. When you start showing me that, then I can go into like, okay, yeah, this is definitely colorism, or this is discrimination on some type of level. Because until I know that, excuse me, y'all, the only thing I can think of is that the only thing that goes through my mind is that you are preferring this over that or whatever. But until I know exactly why, you know, because I think we all have preferences, you know. You know, back in the day, I don't know if people still do it. I'm sure they probably do. You would list like, this is my perfect man, or this is my perfect woman, or whatever, qualities and stuff that you want to see in a person or whatever. And I guess there are some people that say they're going to limit, when it comes to dating, they're going to limit who they fall in love with by saying love can only come from this shade of person, which I think is really crazy. My list will look more like a person that is respectful, a person that, you know, has something going on for themselves, that has goals, that has, you know, things they want to accomplish in life. like I said, it's gonna be respectful to me. It's gonna be good to me. That's gonna be a friend. That's gonna be someone I can depend on. You know, and it just goes on and on and on. The color really is not a big thing. Now I can tell
Hey,
you,
Calvin.
I can tell you that, you know, my eyes may, you know, sway or go over to a particular shade or whatever, only because, I mean, you know, well, for me, my first boyfriend was a lighter guy or whatever. So it was something about the lighter guys, but that's not I can count on my hands. Like I had a light, so the first guy was light. I had a light girlfriend, and I had a light guy I was dating. So probably like 3 out of all the people I've dated a few people in my 50 years. But if that was if I only saw light, then all those dark skin or brown skin would have never got a chance. I think that is so, like you say, it limits you. And I think because of what the white man instilled and even what society continues to put out there is that a certain color or a certain shade is prettier, or, you know, it's better for you than another color. Yeah, I have problems with that, but I don't have a problem with your preference or whatever. So yeah, when I find the distinction between the two, then then emotions come involved. But when it's preferences, I have no emotion. I'm like, that's you, do you. But when you start telling me that you're favoring a particular race or a particular color or whatever, you know, you're basing whatever on that color or whatever, then yeah, we have a problem.
So that's where that's kind of where the divide comes in. The preference comes in. So you can have, what you're saying is you can have a preference, but when you use that preference to exclude the whole, you know, the whole ethnicity, or to exclude everybody in that group, you know. So example, if you say, well, I only prefer, say you're black, you know, any shade of black, you know, whatever, and you just say, I only prefer light-skinned people. You know, I don't date black men that are darker, that's not light skinned or white. Then there's where the discrimination comes in, and you're excluding everybody else, and that's where it becomes not a preference.
Right.
But if you so you're saying if you just have the preference, like, oh, you know, he's cute, or he's fine, he's good looking, you know, and yeah, my eyes tend to gravitate towards lighter skinned people, but you know, I still like, you know, other shades or other nationalities. I still like all of that also too. Okay. Then that's not colorism to me. I mean, I don't think that is a preference, because you're not excluding a whole group of people,
right? Or
discriminating against a whole group of people. But I kind of wonder why that is, that a person would. I know it has its roots in slavery, and we carry on a lot of those. A lot of that stuff that happened back then. But, you know, I just wonder, how do you get to that point? Like, when you just say you grow up in a black family, and then you all of a sudden you have black parents, and you got black brothers and sisters, but then you gravitate away and you just say, I only like that. I only want to date white people, or, you know, I mean, I know that there's some parents who steer their kids towards that, but I don't think most black parents do that.
I hope not.
But I know it was prevalent, you know, years, you know, the 30s and 40s and 50s and stuff, you know, like that. And after slavery, I know some of that was prevalent, where the parents, the mother or the father, they steered their daughter or their son to someone that was lighter, so they can get more privilege in the world, and also probably they in their minds, they might have thought that it'll keep them out of harm's way if they were lighter, you know. But I still wonder why, you know, some guys only in the black gay community. I know I see it in the straight community all the time, where, you know, when you see black guys who only date white women, and, you know, they come up with different excuses of why they do. And I think you should date whoever you want to date. You know, I think if you know, you're free. whatever ethnicity, you know, that's totally up to you or whatever.
Right.
But I find a problem with it when you know, if that's all I see you with, you know, if you're black and that's all I see you with is dating a white person or only Hispanic, and then you don't date your own or you don't marry your own, you know, or you have had that where, you know, yeah, I'll have sex with you, but I ain't marrying you, you know, or I don't want to be seen with you in public because of you, you know, but this, you know, if you're darker skin and you go for the lighter skin. Now there are lighter skin, like myself, I kind of prefer dark skin. It's, you know, I guess you can say that's a preference, but I still like everything else and everything in between too. You know, I don't rule
and
out.
So will we ever see you with a light skinned person? Have you been with light skinned?
Yes, I've been with light skinned people before.
Okay.
I've actually been with white guys before. You know, I had a Asian. She was half Asian and half black girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and she was light skinned.
Okay.
You know, I've had you know, I had another girlfriend. She was light skinned.
Okay.
And then you know, like I said, I've dated. You know, I've had a, you know,
You dated the rainbow.
Yeah. Well, no, I haven't dated the rainbow. I have never dated Hispanic. I have never dated Asian.
But you're not against it.
I'm not against it. I don't know. You know, because you know, my mind is really geared towards black, you know, black people.
Yes.
But I have dated, you know, I have talked to a lot of my other friends though, and they have dated you know, all in the rainbow or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But so far I have not dated Hispanic. I have not dated, you know, or had sex with, whatever you want to say. I've only had sex with white or black so far. And mainly it's all been black. You know, I haven't dated a white guy probably in over 20 something years.
And so you said earlier that if you see a person that, you know, all the time every time you see them, they're with a particular shade or whatever, that would see, to me, that I wouldn't even question. I don't even care until out of your own mouth you state that the reason why you're doing this is because I hate this or I don't like this or whatever. I don't care how many white women Kanye marries or does whatever with, or I don't care how many. Even what's the guy from Pose?
Billy,
yes,
Billy Porter.
All we see him with white men. I really don't care. But now, if Billy Porter ever say out of his mouth, the reason why I date the white men,
he has said that.
He did.
Yeah, he did say.
Okay.
That. Yeah, I can't remember the whole comment, but he did say it was sort of like the black, when he tried to date black men, they didn't want him. You know.
Oh, he's been hurt.
Yeah, probably. But
so that's one of the reasons then.
But he's had more luck with white guys accepting him. The black guys, some of them didn't want to accept his femininity, I guess, and it's just issues. He said when he did try to date black guys when he was younger, they didn't want him, and so then he ended up, I guess, dating outside his race. Ethnicity. I guess he ended up doing that, and that's where he found more acceptance. So now that's where he gravitates towards. I don't even think he gravitates to go backwards to even go date a black person. I don't know for sure.
And he probably
I think that was his reason.
And he probably only puts himself in places where they're there, and you know, black people are not or whatever. But I don't know. But yeah,
like a lot of actors and actresses and stuff, you know, like that. It's colorism. It's all in there too. The lighter skin, you see that more where, you know, the lighter skin gets most of the jobs. You know, I think things are changing a little bit because people are talking about it a little bit more. But I do, you know, I do know that there's colorism, you know, like the lighter you are, you're going to be seen more in certain pictures, in a lot of pictures and films.
So, Calvin said something, but then it said something about something banned.
Where's he at? Let's see what Calvin said.
Can it be colorism no matter what the story is behind it? And then, Gloria said something that was banned. Oh,
I
I'm so
banned
sorry.
it. I banned
You did?
Gloria.
Oh,
Yeah,
what-
she was being
she
Yeah.
said something about me.
no, she didn't.
Okay,
Why
well,
you
baby.
think about you?
Because I was about to come for Gloria, baby.
Well,
You were not.
Gloria said that like 10 minutes ago. You missed it. I'm the one who
whatever.
banned her because she was talking about her uterus.
Oh,
Yeah, she was talking about her uterus.
Baby, wrong channel, wrong time.
Yeah, she came into.
Okay,
Yeah.
go see your doctor, honey.
Yeah, I initially said hi, Gloria. And then when I read her comment, I was like, oh no, Gloria,
Oh,
she was being well, if she talked about her uterus, I guess she was being catty. No, I'm kidding.
You're so nasty.
Anyway, so let's see what Calvin said.
Can it be?
Go ahead.
Can it be colorism no matter what the story is behind it?
You think it can be colorism and not a preference?
Well, it went away. Did it go away?
Hmm?
Did the question go away? Now I see something else.
No, it's right there.
Okay, I see.
just
Okay,
typed
now I see
something
it.
else. He said,
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, can it be colorism no matter what the story is behind it? No, I would need to hear the story. For me, I'm going to take people on their word and not assume and just jump to, okay, this is what this is. I would need to know what the story is, because I don't want to misperceive something or it looks like it could be or whatever. No, I need the facts, people gonna say whatever they gonna say. They could be lying. Even when I'm telling them, give me the facts, they could say something else. But that's all I can go with. I'm not a mind reader, and I'm not going to put something on them because I want to put that on them. I want to hear their story. So for me, I would need to know the story behind it.
so you don't think you've ever been on a job, or you went to apply for a job and then
Now we're using colorism. So you're
Right.
saying that another black person decided not to hire me? Is that what you're going?
Yeah, just say sometimes in a job you can have a black boss, right? But they have some of the same. They can have some of the same stigmatism,
Oh, yeah.
some of the same prejudices and stuff that a white employer may have that they can use against you. Use against you to keep you from being hired, right? And so if just say a darker skinned person came in, applied for the job,
Mhm.
and a lighter skinned person came in, applied for the job, and just say the darker skinned person had better qualifications,
Mhm.
and just say they weren't too far apart, but just say the darker skinned person had better qualifications, that they had the criteria needed for that job,
Mhm.
and just say you went and just say it was you, and just say you knew the person next to you, say y'all were friends and you knew what their job qualifications were,
Mhm.
and you knew that you had more skills and that this job was made for you, and then you walked in there. Would you not question it if you walked out and then just say 2 or 3 days later they called you to tell you, we decided to give the job to the lighter skin? They're not going to say lighter skin, but they're going to say we decided to give the job to the light. This is another black boss.
Well, I mean, the magic word that you're using is So
Okay,
if I know,
but if you don't know, but you know that you have better qualification skills than the person who was in there with you applying for the same job, or they went in there before you applied for the job, but you came in and applied, but you actually had the skills for it. They might have had most of them, but they didn't have all the skills, and then, and just say you walked out confident that you probably had the job or something, but then 2 or 3 days later you get the call or the email saying we decided to go with the guy, any name, we decided to go with the person, and they don't really tell you why, they don't really tell you why, but that you have those skills, and then that you did a great interview, you killed it, but you didn't get the job. Does colorism wouldn't play into your mind at all? You would just think what I mean, if you put yourself in that scenario, what would you think? Well, they just and you knew the person didn't have those skills that you had.
So I only know about me and the person. I don't know about the supervisor, because you led with sometimes there are supervisors that have that same mentality.
Yeah.
So do I know that, or I don't know that?
You just say you don't know that.
Okay, so
you're putting yourself up against the person.
Right.
I just wanted to understand.
I wanted to see the whole thing. So
but you were lighter and you were darker.
Okay. No.
Okay. What happened?
I don't know. My camera went out or something. I don't know.
Says you're still live.
Okay.
Hello? Okay.
Yeah.
Seems better.
I don't know what that is, but okay. No, I wouldn't. We're still live, so I guess that's cool. I don't know what that is. No, I wouldn't. So no, I don't think colorism and all racism and all that doesn't even enter my mind. I'm not built like that.
Yeah.
And it would take me conversating with another. That's not a word, right? But it would take me having a conversation with someone to plant that in my mind and say, do you think that could have been? Do you? Because that would have never entered my. I'm not oblivious to the fact that goes on and that happens, but for me, that would not have entered my mind. I'm not built like that.
Uh-huh.
And I'm in a way I'm glad, but in a way I'm glad because I don't always want to play that card or whatever. But I will say that if I knowingly experience that or know that, I will be an advocate for us. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that you overlook stuff. You know, you're not gonna be out there on the marches. No, I will. I love Black. You know, whatever. But that's just not something that comes in my mind. It would take like a conversation for someone to plant that in my mind. But on the flip side, if I did know that a supervisor was, then yeah, I'm already going in there thinking like, okay, hope I need to bleach my skin or whatever, because I already know that she's gonna think he's gonna think I'm too dark because it's
so known. That's if you know, but when you don't know, that never pops into your head. And see, I've been in situations where that has happened at a job where the manager was Black, mm-hmm. and she didn't want to hire too many dark skinned. This is when I was younger. You know, she didn't want to hire too many dark skinned people, mm-hmm. because she was worried about what the white people who worked there, mm-hmm. would think, mm-hmm. and if they would feel intimidated by, all these Black folks, and then one of them that she did hire, he was dark skinned, and he actually turned out he was very, he not turned out, but he was nice, fun. We all hung out, we had fun and stuff together. But at first she was worried about him being so tall, mm-hmm. and that he was dark skinned, mm-hmm. and then scaring the other people who were, like they would, the white folks would be scared or intimidated by him also being tall, but also by him being really dark. And she actually had said that. Wow. But back then I didn't do anything about it. I wish I had spoke up or said something, whatever. But I did make friends with him, and then we hung out and did stuff because this color thing didn't affect me. And he was straight, so and he had no problem being around me, mm-hmm. With me being gay or anything and stuff, mm-hmm. like that. So we were cool. But I know initially she had a problem with it. Now, as time went on, she didn't.
See,
she didn't. But at first, she had the problem because she was also thinking about her job. Like, if I hire too many Black folks or for this, and some of them, I'm like, I almost said where it was, but. But, some of them were intimidated by him. When, back then I used to hear a lot of racial comments, right? And I would stand up and say something when that people would say stuff.
And it's sad that she felt the pressure that she had to like maybe even pass him by because of corporate or because of the people, above her, mm-hmm. that you would, why does it matter? if he's tall? Why does it matter? You know, if he's dark skinned or whatever. It's sad that she even had to be like that. I think before this last job, I worked with a supervisor that it was a similar story. She had a lot of ladies on her team, and most of the ladies were dark skinned. I mean, they were black, and she was black. So I'm pretty sure, well, I've heard around the office that she was known for being the supervisor that hires all these black girls. And in her mind, she probably felt like, well, one, that may be all that's applying. Two, I'm a black girl. So why wouldn't I see myself in another person and give them, you know, a chance to, you know, become someone in this company and maybe, you know, maybe take my job or whatever, you know? So there were times where I think she probably did feel that way. Like,
people do think
yeah,
they do think
and it's sad that you have to work. That's why we need to be in places of power, but the ones that are not going to be colorist. But you said it happens, you know, colors is where it happens between your own race.
It tends to happen.
Yeah.
It tends to happen between your own race or other ethnicities.
Yeah.
You know, have a lot of colorism going on.
Yeah.
It's rampant in the black community. I mean, it's just rampant in the black community. It's a lot of that. You'll hear the words, you know, like, you know, I had written down some stuff here, you know, because you would hear the words, let's see here. Let's see what I got here, but like, I mean, you hear tones that we say, you know, like red bone, you know, light skin, light bright, darky, black ass, you know, like different tones like that. But you know, they're high yellow. You know, those are all, you know, to describe. You know, when we're talking about our own people, we you know, because you don't hear white people. You don't hear the white people usually saying, "Oh, that's a red bone." They don't even know those
You're
terms.
black.
They don't even know those terms. You know, they might say they're lighter skinned or something, you know, like that. But you don't hear white people say, you know, that red bone or that darky. You know, unless they're racist, then they come out. You know, that racists come out of them like that. But to say, but we do hear that amongst ourselves. You know, oh, they got good hair. Yeah. You know, when technically, really, the good hair is the kinkier, what they call the kinkier, tighter hair. That's actually the good hair.
I say whatever hair you got is good hair.
But people look at it. People look at that curly hair or the straight hair. They say, and we say that amongst ourselves. You know, oh, they got good hair. When it's, and then that can make a person feel.
And why is it good? Because it favors the white people.
Yeah, because it's closer to what they consider a white person's hair. You know, and so that's a form of colorism, whether you want to. People want to think that or not. That is a form of colorism. You know, oh, I like them because, you know, I go for that type because they have the lighter eyes. You know, light-skinned people tend to have lighter eyes, and I like lighter eyes. You know, does that sound more like a preference, or does that sound more like that's still discrimination or a prejudice? You know, or I don't want my kids to come out with kinky hair, so I'm going to marry somebody who's lighter with curly hair or straight hair, or I'll marry somebody or date somebody, or, you know, have kids with somebody who's white, you know, or another nationality, ethnicities, not nationality, another ethnicity, so that my kids, you know, can not be as discriminated in the United States, I'll say, you know, or they'll have a better chance in the world because people favor lighter skinned, you know, more so than they do darker skin.
Right.
And so that's where, you know, is there something in that where, you know, I mean, you know, I've listened to different videos and different YouTubes and people, you know, people talking about this type of subject, and they, you know, some of them talk about how they felt inferior because, you know, they can be with their friends and then they're the darker one, and then their friends, like even in the gay community, their friends, you know, can get checked out quicker or picked up quicker, or their chances was better to go sleep with somebody, pick somebody up, or to date or something more than the darker skinned person. You know, and I've seen it, I've heard it. It's wrong, you know, but but it's out there. And then also in the in the black straight and gay community, sometimes darker skin can be favored more than than the lighter skin, because sometimes people fetishize darker skin as like virile, mandingo type. They got the biggest dick or something, or they think they have a whatever. Do you think we fetishize that we fetishize sometimes darker skinned men than we would a lighter skinned man? Women and men who do that. Do you think we we fetishize, and we can see this dark skinned man and just say,
well, if they do that, if they fetishize dark skin, then they must fetishize light skin too. So to me, I think it's just a preference. However, I know there are stereotypes that come along with, like you said, the black guys, like the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice, or whatever. Or those are the mandingos, which is the guys with with the big penises or whatever. I mean, I know that there are stereotypes or whatever, but I don't know if that's the reason why they are, I guess, preferring fetishing a dark skinned person or whatever. But yeah, I do know those stereotypes they do exist. Which if you watch porn, or if you just went into a locker room or whatever, you would know that that's not always that's not always
it's not always the truth.
Yeah.
But the question is, if we saw a light skinned person, just normally, you saw a light skinned person here and a dark skinned person here, are we likely more to sexually fetishize the dark skinned guy or the light skinned guy? Because we might be fetishizing the light skinned guy for a different reason other than sexually.
Then you have to narrow the question down, because your question to me is broad. So to me, it depends on the individual, because I know some individuals that they love the Chris Browns, so you can put the darker person next to whoever, they're gonna always go to this one. Then you have some people that they like the Tyson, the Tyson, that they're gonna go there or what. So it depends on the individual. What do you think?
I'm not talking about looking at them as like, oh, they're cute or I want to date them, so I'm talking about fetishizing. Specifically fetishizing
people have different fetishes. I don't know. It depends on what your fetish is. Because people have different fetishes. Your fetish may be for the dark skin. My fetish may be for the light skin. So I don't know which one is gonna. Well,
I mean, like
you can put that question up and see
liking somebody. Well,
I'm using the wrong word.
Liking somebody or finding somebody attractive because they're light skin or dark skin is different than a fetish. I'm talking about a fetish where where you're only looking at that person in this sexual way, and you're not taking their whole person or their whole character or who that person is into consideration. You're just looking at them in some type of sexual way. Seeing, like you see the black man, oh, he's virile, he's got that, oh, he must have good sex, he must have a big this.
That's the fetish, that the fetish is that the dark man is viral. That's the fetish. Virile.
It could be.
Okay.
The light skinned guy could be just as virile, but You're looking at this, when you see the light skinned guy, you might take that guy and say, oh, I would like to date him. He looks like he might be a good husband, or he might be a good boyfriend. He might be, be this. You're giving him all of these kudos, or giving him all of this. But then the black one, you only look at like, ooh, I want to have sex with him. He looked like he can put it down. You're fetishizing instead of taking the whole person. You're taking just that and fetishizing the person. And so, and the statistics are out there where you do see a lot of that, where when people come across a dark skinned person compared to a lighter skinned person, they tend to fetishize more about the darker skinned person in sexual overtones than they do the, you know, the category that they may put this light skinned person in is, you know, they might put them up here as, you know, they would make a good provider, or they look, you know, they're the, you know, so and so in society. They'll get, you know, we'll get further along with them in society than we would this one, but you're sexualizing this one. And even though you might be thinking of this one sexually too, you're not putting them in the same category as you're putting this one, you know. So and that happens across the board too. You know, when you just look at that person, and you're automatically looking at that person, you know, because of their darker skin as, you know, virile mandingo type. As far as men go, you know, women, they have a different issue when it comes to like the colorism part, you know, because a lot of times they're overlooked and not considered just because they're darker skin. You know, now sometimes men can be darker skin and they may get the role because they're also fetishized and looked at as this is so and so, you know, but you know, the darker skinned woman, you rarely see that many of them in film unless they're playing, you know, the nanny, you know, the maid or the housekeeper, or you know, yelling at the kids, you know, being, you know, they got them being overly aggressive or something, you know, like that, you know, or playing the slave woman and stuff, you know, like that. So men, a lot of times, not a lot, but a men can sometimes get ahead being darker skinned in some movies. And a lot of times what they put them in is the crime movies and the, you know what I mean, the shoot them and the kill them, and they put them in those, and sometimes not putting them in regular roles that you might give another white person or whatever. But the women, they have a different struggle. Black women have a different struggle when it comes to getting roles and stuff in films. A lot of them don't get that. Usually the lighter skinned women, you know, will get that role over, you know, over the black woman, the darker skinned black woman, or they'll take that light skinned woman and give her a role of somebody who is actually, if it was a real character and a real person in life, they can give that person, the lighter skinned person, the role, even though that person was dark skinned, you know. So if in life that person was dark skinned, but in the movies they'll take a light skinned person and put in that role, and maybe darken that person with makeup and stuff to make them look darker like that. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, it's not right. But even in jobs and stuff, you know, like that too. Sometimes, you know, a darker skinned woman can go in there and they're going to give it to the white woman or a lighter skinned woman than the dark woman. Now, it's just like you said, if that's not on your radar, you might not know that's what happened. But it does happen a lot of times. Just like racism happens a lot of times. And if that's not on your radar and you think you didn't get the job because whatever, it could be because you were black. Just like with the salt and pepper thing, it's because you were black that you didn't get the job. But if that's not on your radar and you're not ever thinking about anything like that or whatever, then you'll walk out of there not knowing, you know, maybe walk out of the job or whatever, not really knowing what happened or why you didn't get the job.
I think you're never going to know what happens when you go to a job unless you actually know.
Well,
however, the stuff.
No, sometimes you know. Sometimes you know.
Yeah, I mean, you feel it. I mean,
sometimes you know, sometimes you know exactly why you didn't get that job. You know, it's or you didn't get that apartment, you know, because it can be because of your color or your ethnicity and stuff also, you know. And now this is reversal. This is not colorism in the like in the black community, but there, you know, I have been discriminated against getting an apartment. You know, when I first came to Texas, you know, I had applied for an apartment, and my friend who was white, you know, me and him went to, you know, to go look at the apartment together because we were going to be roommates. And then, but he was still in the car doing something. So I went in to the appointment that we had made, you know, and I went in to you know, go into the apartment, but I was waiting for him to come in, and he had something else to do. So then I went in there, and when I went in there, the white man was showing another white man all the plans and the apartments and all this other stuff. And then And when when he got in the guy, tell him, okay, we'll be in contact, how you do all that, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got up there, he had, how can I help you? And I said, oh, I have an appointment, Alvin Campbell. And then, and right then he told me, he says, well, we're all full. We're booked up. We don't have anything. We don't have anything left, or something, and, oh, I'm sorry. He was real kind and nice and stuff. I knew, I was like, but he's just sitting here telling this man this. So then I went back out to the car, and I told my friend, and I said, well, they said they don't have anything. I said, but he was telling this guy right there. So my friend said, wait.
That's what I would have told him. I said, well, you just told this man that.
No, wait a minute. Okay. My friend said, wait a minute. Okay. He went back in there. He said, stay here. Okay. I stayed there. He went back in there. And when he went back in there, the guy gave him the plans, gave him all the stuff, and told him, gave him the price. And this is what we have available. Right.
I mean, in those instances,
and even though that wasn't colorism, but it's a form of colorism, but that was actually racism, and prejudice that the guy, and I was too young to know what to do about stuff at that time.
You definitely walked out there knowing.
So I knew when I was in there. So there's
most situations don't happen most don't happen like that.
Actually, quite a bit of such situations do happen like that. It's just that the person doesn't act on it at the time or doesn't do anything about it or whatever. And sometimes they feel humiliated or or defeated or whatever, and they just don't do anything about it. It happens quite a bit. Things are getting better, but it still happens out there. And then let me go back here to what Calvin had said, something here down here. Calvin says, wow, I wonder if after a person realizes the source of their colorism, especially in dating, do they change to become more open with accepting the colors outside of their usual?
I have no idea. I'm not that person, but
I mean, I don't know if you have to be that person sometimes to put yourself in other people's shoes, or to think. I mean, we can't speak for everybody, but there's always outliers and exceptions to the rule. But this happens a lot.
I mean, I would hope that they do, but I mean, I don't know. I would hope that they would realize that hey, the world is a bigger place than what I've been seeing it.
I don't think most of them do. Because when you still look out there, I don't see where most of them actually do come around. They tend to stay in that, I'm only going to date this. Now, some do, especially now if their pool starts getting lower and limited, or they might get older and ain't nobody feeling them and don't want them or nothing. They might lower their whatever they think they have, they might come and, say, okay, well, I guess I'll start dating whatever, whatever, because now their options are limited or whatever. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think most of them change, once they see their ways or see that this is colorism. I don't think that they actually stop doing it. Some of them don't care. What was that guy on the thing who was talking, and he didn't care that it was colorism. I can't remember his name. I'll go back and look for it. But he sat there right on the camera and talking about, I don't care. People, they're gonna come for me, but I don't care. It's just the way I am. It ain't no preference. This is I don't like dark skin. So I don't know.
I mean, we would hope that they would change, but I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I can't speak to people's hearts. But hopefully it will get better. I think it starts in the household with you, esteeming your children at a young age, letting them know that they're beautiful, that, there's no one else like them. They're unique. Like the woman said on the help, you is kind, you is important, instilling that in your sons and daughters, letting them know that regardless of the world you're about to step in, you're the most awesomest person, let them know. And then also when they get older, let them know there are going to be people that are going to not like you just for your skin color or whatever, start letting them know, getting them ready for this. And then on the opposite side of that is for people to just realize that you're missing out when you exclude other races or other ethnic groups, so what have you, you never know who's going to be the next inventor. You never know who's going to come up with the next cure for cancer or whatever. You don't know what you're blocking, or what you're denying yourself. This could be the person that's going to give you that multi-million-dollar idea that's going to bring, business and investors and clients to your company, but you're going to not accept them or whatever. And I know we're talking about everything else except the gay community, but even in the gay community, when you deny a person just because of their skin color, love shows no color. I could, as easily as I could fall in love with a Black person, I could fall in love with a white person if those same qualities are there. With my preference going to be white? Probably not. But still, I'm not shutting that off, And I think that's where, on the other side of this is where they need to see that the very thing that you're denying could be the very thing that brightens your world, brightens your life. So don't be so stereotypical or so, exclusive on who you're dating or who you're working. Whatever.
Some of it could be our circles that we travel in. Most of the circles, I have like a diverse group of friends. I have quite a bit of white friends, and I have quite a bit of Black friends, and everywhere in between also. But the circles that we travel in mostly is Black circles. We do most of the stuff with our Black friends. Sometimes I will run into my white friends. I don't run into them as much as I used to, but I still run into them every now and then. I still got my friend Brian. I'll go over and see him every now and then. Or he'll, you met him. He's come to parties here before. But some of the other ones I don't see as much. I do have my ones from work. We hang out and talk and have fun. But the majority of our circle is, the Black community.
Right.
Just because we're Black, just like white people. Most white people, the majority of their community is white people.
Yeah.
But we do broaden our horizon and have a variety of different friends, and we can interact with them.
Yes.
And then and I'm mainly probably 99.9% only attracted to Black guys, right? But but there are that's why I wouldn't say mine is colorism, because I can venture outside of that. Which I haven't in years, but but I don't. I'm not exclusive. I'm not excluded to just only Black guys, but I kind of am. You know what I mean? But not because of colorism or I'm being discriminatory.
Right.
That's my race. I'm just basically, that's what I'm attracted to. But I do find other people attractive, and
that goes to my point.
It could be a potential. It just hasn't happened.
So Calvin's question about the story, like that, I need to know the story behind it. Like, even though I don't know if there was a story behind it. I think he's just making a blanket statement. Like, when I read it, it just sounds like. We've already answered. But I'm just saying that that just goes along with how you have a story about it. Like you're open to that, but it seems like you do only date Black people, but it's not because of that. I would need to know because of that to actually categorize you as a colorist or not. I wouldn't just assume, and that's what his question was. Do we just automatically put on the label colorism, or do we need to see, or do we need to hear the story behind it? And I said, for me, I would need to hear the story behind it. But yeah, and you kind of explained it. You kind of said that.
Here's his question.
He asked another one.
No, there's his question right there. He says, wow, I wonder if after a person realizes.
I was talking about the other question, but yeah, we can do this one though.
Oh, I thought you were back on this.
No.
Which one were you talking about?
The question that I just said, the one that he said was about the story behind it.
This is it.
No, it actually had story behind it, didn't it?
No,
it was a shorter question. We answered it earlier.
Let's see here. Right here, can it be colorism no matter what what the story is behind it?
Yes.
Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, that is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, how long we've been on? We've been on for a minute. But like I said, I mean, we've talked about it, and I think because I always like to leave with like some resolutions or like closing thoughts or like how can we help it. And like I said, as Black people, we need to speak to our young kids, not carry on this, if you're lighter, you're better, you're darker, this, or this is good hair, this is bad hair, or, let them know that they are accepted, they are loved, they are, they're special. They can grow up to be anything. They can grow up to be the president of the United States and be dark. I mean, or light or whatever. I mean, it starts at home, because to me, when you first brought the subject up, and I listened to it and I looked at it, I was like, this sounds like self-hatred to me. And it sounds like the reason why it became self-hatred is because the white man made it seem like, there was a hierarchy in our races or whatever.
It still is a hierarchy in it. There still is.
Okay.
And it always has been since the inception of the United States, but it's been a hierarchy even in Europe,
right?
Or whatever. That doesn't mean that it's right, but that hierarchy is there. So that goes into the question, like, does lighter skin offer more privilege? In your mind, do you think lighter skin offers more privilege than someone that's darker skin in today's society?
In today's society, it probably does, because you see it. I mean, now you're getting to where you're seeing more colors or whatever. But yeah, lighter skins they seem to be chosen for the commercials. They seem to be chosen for, that artist. I mean, even Matthew knows, my uncle, he even said about Beyonce, he was like, one of the reasons why Beyonce was successful is because she was lighter. And Kelly, which is her group mate, she didn't become as successful because she's dark or whatever. So yeah, you do see it in society. However, like I said, it starts in the home, where you start telling whether they sons or daughters, you start instilling into them that no matter what, you are beautiful, you're great. So when these situations happen, it doesn't break them.
Well, I'm not sure that's necessarily true, because you can instill that in your kids, you can instill that in people, and they can still grow up and have that.
Well, regardless, just do it. I'm just saying, just do it. I'm just trying to.
We can instill a lot, and we can instill a lot in our kids. We can instill a lot in people, but once society they get out there in that world, and society gets hold of them, then their views and
that's true on both sides, because you can instill in your child that we're racist or whatever, but there's a lot of people that grew up in households like that are not. Right. They don't even see color. They see color, but they don't treat another person differently because of the way they may have saw their parents, whatever, treat that race or whatever. So, I mean,
yeah, anybody who say they don't see color, that's a lie.
Right. I misspoke, because I don't even believe that. You see, that's the first thing you see. Yeah.
You see whatever,
Yeah.
That means if you don't see color, you don't see me, because, I'm a brown skinned guy.
Right.
I have some color to me. So
exactly.
But I kind of know what you're talking about. I know what they're talking about when they say that. They're saying, well, I don't see you as a, you know what I'm saying? I don't.
Yeah, I think it's a dumb statement.
Different. I don't see you as less than because of your color. I know what they're saying, but it's still it is a dumb statement.
Yeah, it's very dumb.
But did you see the movie Passing on Netflix?
I think so. It sounds familiar.
Yeah. If not, we need to go back and watch it. Because it has a lot of that in there. Mm-hmm. And I watched it. I kind of want to know what people who have seen that movie Passing, what they thought about it. I want to know if did they think that just one of them was passing for white, or did they think both of them were passing for white, or was one passing all the time and one was just passing some of the time.
Mm.
Okay, when it behooved her for her, you know, to get some privilege out of it. Now the other thing is, were they only just passing for white, or was they also passing as straight?
Mm.
So that's what I want to know also. And then I also want to know, what do you think happened at the end when she went out that window?
Mm.
You know, I want to know, did he push her? Did her husband push her? Did the other lady push her?
Mm.
Did she jump, or did somebody else push her, or did she accidentally fall? So there's a lot to that movie. And that was just one of the questions. There's a lot of colorism going on in there, a lot of racism, but it was definitely a lot of colorism going on in that movie. And anybody who hasn't seen it, if you get a chance, go in there and watch that movie on Netflix, if it's still on. Because that was one heck of a broad conversation people were having after that too. And some people didn't even pick up on the to me, the lesbian aspect of it. But I did right away. I was like, and I was thinking, okay, well,
because
yeah, I'm a lesbian. And then, but you know, it's like you're passing for this, but are you passing for this also? Are you trying to pass for straight also? You know, there's a lot was going on in that movie. I guess we're probably going to have to end this here pretty soon, but you know, anybody who comes into the, you know, come in, leave your comments. We'll go back and we will read your comments, and we'll post, and you know, join our lives.
Yes,
and, every Sunday, and then come in next week, and where we will be talking about ageism in the gay, lesbian, bi, trans, LMNOP community. Okay, and thanks for joining us. And again, this is Charles, and I'm Alvin, and thanks for joining Tit for Tat.
Bye.